Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to do a deep dive into something pretty special. We're talking Cambodian fish amok. It's funny. It's a dish that's kind of got this mysterious aura around it. So
Yeah.
we've got some great sources to help us demystify it. We've got a travel guide on Cambodian cuisine and a blog post by a culinary expert who seems to really know their stuff when it comes to authentic amok. We'll uncover the history, the cultural significance, and most importantly, what makes a real deal amok stand out from all those imitations you sometimes see.
Yeah, I think what's so cool about fish amok is that it really captures the spirit of Cambodian food. Cambodian cuisine is often kind of overshadowed by its neighbors like Thai and Vietnamese, but it's got this incredible depth of flavor and a truly unique blend of ingredients. And a lot of that comes from its geography. Think about it. Cambodia is a land of waterways. You've got the Mekong River flowing right through it. And then there's the Tonle Sap Lake, which is actually the largest freshwater lake in Southeast Asia. And it's teeming with fish. So naturally, fish plays a huge role in Cambodian cuisine.
I've heard that Cambodian cuisine can be pretty adventurous, like fried tarantulas and grilled snake.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're definitely not afraid to try new things. Resourceful, you know.
Yeah.
But no matter how adventurous it gets, there's always this underlying balance, this harmony of flavors. And rice, of course, is at the very heart of it all. Actually, the Khmer phrase for to eat literally translates to eat rice. It's that deeply rooted in their culture.
So where does fish amok fit into this picture? I keep seeing it called Cambodia's national dish.
Well, it definitely is a national treasure, that's for sure. But, like with any cultural icon, there's always room for debate. Some folks might argue for other dishes, like nam ban chak, which is a delicious noodle dish, as being the true national dish.
So there's a little friendly competition for the top spot. But one thing our expert blog post really emphasized is this misconception surrounding amok. Like what you find in a lot of touristy spots isn't exactly the real deal, right?
Absolutely. Authentic Cambodian fish amok is this delicate steamed dish with a texture that's almost like a mousse or a souffle. It's definitely not a terrine, which is a mistake people sometimes make. The steaming process is really what sets it apart.
And speaking of steaming, our sources mentioned banana leaves being essential. It seems like they're more than just a cooking vessel.
You're right. Traditionally, amok is steamed in banana leaves, and that's what gives it that subtle fragrance and helps create that unique, airy texture we talked about.
Almost like nature's steamer basket.
Exactly. They're pretty resourceful.
Now, our expert blog post mentions this fresh croton paste, which I guess is a blend of lemongrass, kaffir lime, and galangal, among other things. So what exactly is croton and why is it so important?
Croton is like the aromatic foundation of a lot of Cambodian dishes. It's this incredibly fragrant paste made by pounding fresh herbs and spices together. And for amok, the blog post was specific about pounding the ingredients in a certain order, starting with the harder ones like galangal and lemongrass to extract all that flavor.
So there's a real art to making croton. I'm picturing someone patiently working those ingredients with a mortar and pestle.
You got it. That's the traditional method. And it's not just about crushing the ingredients. It's about coaxing out their essence, creating this smooth, cohesive paste that's like the heart of the amok.
Okay, I'm starting to see why authentic amok is considered a labor of love. It takes time and skill.
Exactly. And that level of care is reflected in the history of the dish, too. Our sources mention some possible royal origins. Some food historians believe amok might have even been served in the royal court of King Jayavarman VII during the Angkor period.
Wow, so we're talking about a dish that might have graced the tables of Khmer royalty centuries ago.
That's pretty amazing.
But our sources also mentioned that amok was enjoyed by everyday folks too, like farmers.
Right. It's interesting because it seems to bridge these social classes and eras. It was both a refined delicacy and a practical meal for farmers who could easily carry it to the fields.
A dish with a story woven into every layer. Now I'm curious, is it always fish? Or could you use chicken or tofu instead?
Well, our sources did mention variations with chicken, tofu, and even snails. But to really get that authentic amok experience, fish is the way to go. It's what the dish was built around.
Got it, fish it is. So we've touched on the history, the cultural significance, and the key elements. But I'm ready to get into the actual process of making this culinary masterpiece.
Okay, let's dive into that. All right, so let's get into the heart of this authentic amok recipe. Our culinary expert really stressed that the type of fish you use is super important. Snakehead or catfish are the go-to choices because their flesh is firm enough to hold up during that long steaming process.
Yeah, that makes sense. A more delicate fish would probably just fall apart.
Yeah.
So we've got our fish. We've got our banana leaves ready. What else goes into making this dish so special?
Well, the real magic is in the base, that rich aromatic base. It all comes back to that croam paste we talked about. It's the soul of the amok. This particular recipe calls for fresh lemongrass, kaffir, lime zest, and leaves, galangal, turmeric, garlic shallots, and chilies, all pounded together to create this symphony of flavors.
Wow, that's quite a mix. I bet it smells amazing. Does the recipe talk about any specific techniques for pounding the croam?
Oh, yeah. It does. It's pretty specific. The blog post is all about using a mortar and pestle. That's the traditional way. It even suggests pounding the ingredients in a specific order. So you start with the harder ingredients like the galangal and lemongrass. Then you move on to the softer ones like garlic and chilies. It's all about releasing those oils properly.
I love how every step is so intentional. It's not just throwing things together. It's about understanding those nuances of flavor and texture.
Exactly. It's what elevates this from a simple dish to an art form. And once you've got that beautiful croam paste, you simmer it gently with coconut milk, fish sauce, palm sugar, and a pinch of salt.
So that's where that creamy, savory base comes from. The sweetness from the palm sugar, the saltiness of the fish sauce, the richness of that coconut milk, and then all those amazing aromatics from the croam.
It's like this perfect harmony. And once that sauce is simmering and fragrant, you gently fold in the fish, make sure it's all coated in that deliciousness.
And then it's time for the banana leaves, right?
Yes. You basically create little banana leaf parcels, almost like little boats or bowls, to hold the fish in the sauce. And that's where the steaming magic really happens.
So they're not just for aroma, those banana leaves. They're actually crucial to how the dish cooks, helping create that unique texture and preventing the fish from overcooking.
It's an amazing technique, passed down for generations. The recipe says to steam it for about 30 to 40 minutes, or until the fish is cooked through, and that sauce is thickened up to that luscious, almost mousse-like consistency we talked about.
I can almost taste it. Is there like a particular way to serve fish amok? Any special garnishes?
Oh yeah, absolutely. A sprinkle of fresh chilies, some thinly sliced kaffir lime leaves, and maybe a drizzle of coconut cream. It adds those final touches, not just visually, but those little bursts of fragrance and flavor really complement the amok beautifully.
Okay, you've officially made me hungry. But beyond the deliciousness, I'm curious about the cultural side of things. Our sources mention that anik is often made for special occasions. So what role does it play in modern Cambodian society?
That's a great question. And it leads us to a really fascinating part of the Amok story.
Yeah, we talked about how it might have royal origins and all.
Right. It's not just about the food in Cambodia. It's about their history and values and their whole way of life. Like, remember those royal origins we were talking about?
I do. Hard to believe this dish might have been enjoyed by Khmer royalty centuries ago.
It really is. And even though it's not officially confirmed, it just shows how elegant and refined amok really is. It takes time and patience and a real understanding of how to balance those flavors.
It really is like an art form passed down for generations.
Exactly. But it's also a dish that goes beyond social class. We talked about how amok was something everyone enjoyed, from farmers to families celebrating special occasions.
It's that connection to a shared heritage that really gets me. A dish that links people to their past.
Yeah, it's powerful. And the fact that it's still so popular today, especially for weddings and celebrations, it shows just how deeply rooted it is in Cambodian culture.
It's like a taste of nostalgia, a reminder of simpler times and those traditions they cherish.
And that's something really special. In a world that's constantly changing, fish amok is like a symbol of how food can connect us to our roots.
So what does all this mean for someone like me? Someone who might be trying fish amok for the first time.
I think it means that the next time you see it on a menu, don't just see a dish. See it as a chance to experience Cambodian culture. Ask yourself, is this the real deal? Steamed to perfection in those banana leaves? Or is it just a quick imitation?
That's a great point. It's a reminder to be curious, to dig a little deeper, and to really appreciate the story behind the food we eat.
Exactly. And hey, who knows? Maybe you'll even be inspired to try making amok yourself using that authentic recipe we talked about.
I know I am. This deep dive has been eye-opening. And I'm definitely going to explore more of Cambodian cuisine. And hey, if any of you listeners out there have had an interesting amok experience, let us know. Share your stories, your culinary adventures, and keep the conversation going. Until next time, happy eating, everyone.